Alright guys, hello, welcome back to the channel. I am super caffeinated and we're going without a script for this one, so apologies if this is a little bit more incoherent than usual. But today I just thought I'd go over a few core exercises that I really like that incorporate a lot of really effective mobility training at the same time. So kind of in a similar vein to the video I did about rotation a little while back, I am a really big advocate of combining core training with mobility stuff. I think a lot of people think of mobility as just like static stretching or yoga or whatever, but I think anything that gives us more movement options or more movement literacy is a really, really good use of our mobility training. And a lot of us are skipping our core because it's boring. A lot of us are skipping our mobility because it's also boring. So we might as well kill two birds with one stone and make sure that we never skip it again because we do it at the same time. It's super time efficient and we're gonna make some really good gains doing it at the same time. All right, guys, first up, we've got the Gar Hammer Raise. So shout out to my coach, Angus Bradley, for introducing me to this one. I give it to pretty much all my clients. It is a staple in my training and has been for a long time. I think it's like, for my money, the best core exercise you can do, and it's got the added benefit of giving us a bit of nice gentle exposure to spinal flexions, that round back position, without worrying about adding external load or anything. So all it is basically is almost like a reverse sit-up. So in like your conventional sit-up where you're kind of bringing your torso forward towards your knees, here we're gonna do the opposite. So we're kind of fastening ourselves onto a bench and we're gonna peel ourselves back and try and touch our shoulders to our knees. So I'm doing it on a bit of an incline because I'm a bit of a fucking stud. But to start with, you absolutely want to do this on a flat bench. The way that we progress it is by adding incline gradually, because the incline makes it considerably harder. It's also kind of analogous to a dragon flag, except instead of trying to stay really rigid and kind of in that hollow body, like we talked about with the skin of the cat, we're actively trying to pull ourselves into spinal flexion using the muscles of our core. So I'm gonna do a set and kind of talk you through the setup. So like I said, get yourself on a bench, flat bench ideally. You wanna set your hands up above your head like so. So you're coming over the top of the bench. I like this kind of like thumbless grip. You wanna feel really solid on the bench, like you can pull, because our lats are gonna be engaged to give our core something to actually pull against. So then what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put my feet on the bench and I like to kind of wiggle myself nice and long. With this bench, it's a little bit of an annoying setup because the seat comes up as the incline goes up, which isn't ideal, but such is life. So you're gonna come yourself here. So if you're laying on a bench naturally, again, we're gonna have that kind of nice lumbar extension. So my back is gonna be off the bench. So I like to actively cue people to lift their low back off the bench. And then to start the rep, you push it back in. So we're getting that pelvic tilt once again. We're pushing our low back into the bench. We're using muscles of our core. And then all I'm gonna do is I want you to think about, try not to kick or swing into it with straight legs. Try and keep your legs nice and bent. And I want you to imagine that you're peeling your back off the bench, like one joint at a time. So I'm just gonna rip a working set here. Hopefully it doesn't feel too bad and I embarrass myself on YouTube. Woo, Jesus. So yeah, that's our Gar Hammer Raise. Like I said, you wanna try and avoid like really kicking into it and using a lot of momentum. We wanna try and keep it as strict as possible. If, even on a flat bench, that is just not an option for you, you can use a little bit of momentum. I would probably prefer to actually regress it to a sit-up, to a really controlled, flexed sit-up, rather than deliberately cueing momentum, because I think it can be kind of hard to quantify like how much swing you're getting. Try and control the way down as well. Try and have a little pause in the bottom. We want this to be really strict, really blast the core. This is like the only exercise that's ever cramped my abs. And I think it's great because, like I said, we get some spinal flexion, we're moving our core to a really, really good range of motion, and we're really demonstrating that active core control, that like compression strength to really pull us into those lovely positions. All right, guys, so next up, we've got our side bend. So we did touch on this on the video I did a few weeks ago about spinal movement and like spinal mobility training, but we did just a free weight version of that exercise. This, I think, is the primo setup, is in the Smith machine. The reason I think this is because you can load it up really heavy, I think a lot of people, the main issue I see when people do this side bend exercise is they just chronically underload it. Like they either stay at like a 20 kilo plate or a 20 kilo kettlebell, and they never actually try and progress it onwards from that. But the muscles of your core are just like any other muscles in your body. They can get stronger and they will adapt to increasing demands. So we might as well do a variation where we can load it up pretty much infinitely. Other reason that I really like the Smith machine version, you can do it on a barbell, and that is really fucking cool. But if you are doing it on a barbell, you need to, even if you're taking it from pins, you need to have it dead set. You need to have your grip dead set in the middle of the bar. Otherwise, the set is completely fucked from the get-go. This is pretty easy if you have a bar with center knurling, but if you don't, it can be a massive pain in the ass to get that center grip every time. With the Smith, it's really stable, doesn't really matter where you grip it too much, and you can just kind of load it up really heavy and rip and tear. So the form for this is super simple. I really recommend using straps for this. Some Smith machines, if the safeties are quite high, you might need to stand on a bench or a step to get a full range of motion. Thankfully, this one is pretty fine. So all I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna strap up roughly in the center of the bar. Just because it's a Smith doesn't mean we don't need to at least try and get relatively central. You can kind of use two hands to unrack it. And then from here, I'm gonna have other hand kind of just below my floating ribs. I'm not gonna try and shoot my hips out this way. I'm gonna try and stay really nice and square. And I'm just gonna try and open up the space on this side of my ribs and close it on the other side to about the level of my knee. And then I'm gonna come back up. And then it's super easy to rack once you're done with the set. So it's a fairly straightforward exercise. I think the main kind of points form-wise that I want you to think about or to pay attention to is try not to like shove your hip out to the other side, because we're really trying to focus on lengthening through the core and through the side body. And try not to rotate, especially if you have your grip set up a little bit funky. You want your grip really in line with your leg, with like the near side leg to the Smith machine. I was a little bit far forward on that set you just saw. But you want to try and avoid like this, trying to collapsing through and rotating. Rotating is fine, but it's just kind of defeating the point of what we want to do with this exercise. So a cue that I like to give to people is the other side, like the far side from the machine or the weight or whatever. Try and just like lean it back just a little bit, because that is going to keep you really nice and straight along for that lateral flexion movement. So yeah, if you want to get better at side bending, if you want to get really, really strong obliques, and you just want to mog everyone in the gym, this is absolutely an exercise you should be training very regularly and reasonably heavy. All right, so last up is the probably most difficult one, most intimidating looking one, but it is also kind of the coolest. And that is going to be our skin the cat. So I want to put the world's largest asterisk on this one. I am not a gymnast. I'm not a gymnastics coach. This is not the cleanest skin the cat you'll ever see, and nor is this like a comprehensive tutorial. This is just how I learned how to do it to a somewhat competent level, and why I think it's a sick move you should put in. So I think the main thing to understand about the skin the cat is it looks a lot harder than it actually is. Obviously, it looks really, really wild. You're going upside down, you're hanging. So that is quite intimidating. But compared to other gymnastic skills like our iron cross, like a planche or a front or a back lever, it is much, much easier than those, and it is a lot more accessible. So just kind of demonstrate what a skin the cat actually is in the first place. So you can do it on a bar or on rings. I do prefer doing it on a bar because my cope is that I've got really long legs and they get stuck on a bar, but I'm just not as good as I could be with it. And obviously with rings, you've just got you've got a lot more clearance to get your legs through the hole of through the window of your arms. But also your hands have a lot more freedom to move with the grip, because you are going to have to kind of rotate as you move. So that extra freedom for your shoulders to kind of move around can be really, really nice, especially if you do have slightly tight shoulders. Obviously, the other caveat for this one would be if you are a little bit stiff in the shoulders, be really gentle with this one. You don't need to rush the progression on this. It'll take a little bit of time, but I think it is really, really worth it. So what actually is a skin the cat? So I'm gonna have grip on the bar. I like to have quite a narrow grip just to make extra room for my legs to come through. My palms are facing away from me if I'm doing it on a bar. So step one of the progression is we're gonna need to be able to actually do a dead hang. That's super important to start with. And then step 2 would be to go into what we call like a hollow body position, which is, I don't know if you can see come off the bar so I don't bum my grip out. So when I'm just kind of hanging naturally, I'm in a bit of spinal extension. This is pretty normal. This is just like the normal shape of our spine. And especially if we're relaxing into a dead hang, that's totally normal. But what we want to do is kind of similar to how if we were going to do like really heavy weighted pull-ups, we want to get really locked in from the start. So I'm pulling my lats down, I'm pulling my ribs down, kind of coming into this more pelvic tilt here. Really tight, so everything is really nice and rigid as opposed to kind of loosey-goosey and floppy. So if I'm hanging from a bar, this is our kind of loose position, and then this is our more hollow body position. You can practice this on the floor as well. This is a really good drill as like a static hold. You can see I'm shaking here because I'm not very good at this. So our full skin this cat, hopefully my mic and my hat don't fall off, is going to look something like this. Like I said, not the cleanest wrap in the world, but we're going to come here, I'm going to pull with my lats. Let me try again. Let's try that again. So I'm going to hang from the bar, I am going to pull with my lats, trying to keep my core nice and tight. I like to tuck to get my legs through, and I'm going to rotate all the way around into this bottom position here called the German hang, and then I'm going to reverse the movement, getting my feet through the window and coming down nice and controlled. So obviously that looks really intimidating, that looks like a lot. It can be easier to kind of break it down into steps. When you're first learning, and also if you're not that married to making it really, really clean and you kind of just want it as shoulder mobility first, core second, I think it's fine to get a little bit of a jump into it, especially while you're learning, and to bend the arms a little bit. Ultimately, we do want to get to that full straight arm, kind of like toes to bar position, but we live in the real world. Using a little bit of momentum is not the worst thing in the world to do at all. So I think a nice kind of intermediary position is just to get used to being upside down, because it is really, really scary. I think that once you are confident in your dead hang, it becomes a lot less scary, because all you need to do to not hurt yourself with the skin of the cat is just hold on. You just don't let go. If you let go, you're gonna have a bad time. So we'd not recommend doing that whatsoever. So a nice little drill we can do to start with is trying to bring our toes to the bar, and you can add in a pause or you can kind of rep it out. So toes to the bar, control the way back down. One more time. Toes to the bar, and come back down. And then if we want to get really confident in that kind of inverted position, we can just hit our toes to the bar and just kind of hang out here. And you can see I've kind of got my feet hooked on the bar. That can be really good for developing your confidence in this position, because after a while you kind of get this feeling of like, at least grip wise, it's not any harder than a regular dead hang. You just need to get used to committing to that inverted position. And then from there, the main ways we're going to progress it, we're going to try and get progressively deeper into that German hang, which we're talking about in a second, or we're just going to try and chain together more reps, use less momentum, keep it more and more strict, try and keep the arms straighter, and really focus on using the lats and the core to get it up. So as far as progressing the German hang goes, you can do it on its own. You don't need to do that first bit of the skin the cat, and that can actually be a really, really nice way to get used to that reversing position, because it can be really freaky when you're stuck in that German hang and you're like, oh God, oh God, oh God, I'm stuck. I don't know if I'm strong enough to pull myself back out. You are strong enough to get back out of there. If you got there in the first place, you can absolutely manage it, but you can also just drop down with your feet underneath you. That's totally fine. If you have access to a low bar or to rings, I can't really do it particularly well on here because of just like where my hands are, but just hanging into that German hang is a little bit harder, this one. But you can actually just hold yourself like this. You can even keep your feet on the floor. You can slowly add in less and less weight in your feet. You can kind of hit a little hover. That can be a really nice and safe way to introduce yourself to that bottom position on its own without the fatigue that you might get from doing the whole movement. And so if I'm just here trying to work on my German hang, I'll go into the full movement, nice and easy. Hollow body, tuck the feet, get them through. Oh God. And then if I can get to here, that's fine. Then I can get to here, and then here, and then here. I've got a pretty deep German hang because I've got really mobile shoulders. And then we just tuck and reverse the position. So why do I like the skin the cat so much? A, it's fucking cool. I think it's a really fun side quest to add in a little bit of gymnastic stuff to your training. It keeps it varied, it keeps it fun, and it's a nice little party trick that you can do that looks a lot more impressive than it actually is physically demanding. But also, I think it's really, really good. One of the things that I like about a lot of gymnastics training is integrating like the lats and the core to work together. So being able to just get this hollow body position here and then work on pulling the toes to the bar and getting everything working in synchronicity is a really, really good skill. We're getting that really strong core work there, and we're combining it with a bit of shoulder mobility, which is kind of what this video has all been about. So like I said, not a gymnast, not a gymnastics coach. I'm sure there's people that are way better at gymnastics than me watching this and cringing really hard right now. But I think it's a good little side quest to go on, and there's loads and loads of resources out there to develop that progression. I would just say, focus on the dead hang to start with. Once you can dead hang comfortably for 45 seconds maybe, you can start to try and add in those toes to bar, start to add in that kind of inverted hang, and then if you have access to rings, buy some rings. They're a great investment for your gym bag. You can get a decent set for like 25 quid these days. You can work on just holding that German in the bottom, and then from there, add in the full skin the cat. To start with, you might have to bend your arms, you might have to use a bit more momentum to get where you want to go, but eventually you're going to get it stricter and cleaner, and it is just a really good use of your time. Alright guys, so that is the video for today. I'm going to wrap up my training session now. Thank you very much for watching. Give these a try, or give some of these regressions a try in your next workout. Stop skipping your core, stop skipping your mobility, do them at the same time. Your athletic performance is going to thank you for it. If you want to learn more about fitness, please check out the other videos on my channel. Please subscribe. New videos coming every single week, every single Sunday UK time. Check out my Instagram as well. I post there every single day about fitness and gym stuff. If you want a little bit more help and you want to talk about online coaching, the application form is in the description of the video. It's also in the link tree on my Instagram. I am actively looking for more online clients, so I would love to help you get to where you want to go fitness-wise. And yeah, if you enjoyed it, drop a comment, any questions, just put it in the thing down below. And yeah, I'll see you next week. Cheers.